Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this Tuesday morning as we get over halfway through the month of September. Let's look at our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. It's getting back warmer again. It's going to be 88, but it's going to drop down to 69. So we had a good little variance there. I don't know. It got a little bit cooler yesterday morning than we thought. My truck was parked outside yesterday. It was like 56 degrees up in my neighborhood. So, of course, I live up there in the northern part of the county, so that in the Southport side. So it got a little bit cooler. River readings, take a look at them. The Apalachicola at Bluntstown at a 1.9. Now, it's really getting low, 1.9. And the Choctawhatchee at Caryville is also at a 4.2. But look where it bounced up and sort of falling out now. But it really looked, had a really good, some movement in it. And really that wasn't anticipated, but it's falling out now. And dropping the river, a lot of times people like to catfish at the mouth of those sloughs and all. So now's a good time if you want to do some of that around the Choctawhatchee River and all its tributaries as it goes into Choctawhatchee Bay. Really beautiful place over there. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemeteries. We're looking, today is September the 15th. And like we mentioned yesterday, neap tides, I won't even give them to you, there's not much tidal flow. Really the rest of this week now. Saturday morning, take a look at it. Saturday morning, you're going to have a little falling tide to fish, and it's going to be some, I think, really good fishing on Saturday morning. Our marine forecast to be east, northeast at about 10 to 15. So that takes care of our weather. Let's go ahead and take our break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's always like to start off this segment, not always, but a lot of times start off this segment with some pictures, and they're always fascinating at different pictures we get. And also like to cover some announcements. And although this is over a month away, well, less than 2 months away, but over a month away, the first weekend of November, always a lot of things going on then. The Seafood Festival, the Georgia-Florida football game. Jeff and I were just talking about it. But look, the Redfish Tournament. Jeff Bardorf sent this to us. This is in honor of his daughter Elizabeth Bardorf. Memorial Tournament is going to be at Sunjammer November 7th, starting that morning at 6 o'clock. And I'm assuming, it does not mention it, but I'm assuming the weigh-in is going to be about 3 p.m. And you register the afternoon before from 3 to 7. $35. A great little tournament, a lot of locals in it. And all that money, they take it and put it to the Bay County Red Cross for all kids to learn how to learn the swim program. So what a great idea to do that. And we talk about it a lot, and they come on every year, okay? Also want to mention, you don't have to look at this, but the Catfish Tournament is coming up September 25th and 26th. That's weekend after next at it's a Curtis Anders Memorial Catfish Tournament. The Flathead Catfish Tournament down there, Don Minshew. You call him at 814-3180, and registration $50, and it's going to be the end of the Catfish Trail. We've talked about that on here, and that's going to be a good one to wrap up with. Also, one more quick announcement, September 26th, that's like a family 5K nature hike, not a run or anything, but over at the Biofeeder Center over close to Freeport. Just get out and walk in the woods, and what a fun thing that would be. The leaves going to start changing a little bit, and a great opportunity to go do that. All right, now let's go to our pictures. This picture here, this is Ethan Wesky, 9-year-old son of James, and he's got a little redfish there, and had a little happy birthday party, and we took him fishing. So good job there, Ethan. You're going to be as good a fisherman as your dad. All right, this is always a good picture this time of year. End of the summer, Florida blue crabs. Kenny Livingston, I know they had a feast on this right here. All right, now let's just talk about this. We get sent this to talk about sharks, and everybody gets scared of sharks. So I found this chart, and I think it's sort of, let's top left-hand corner. Deer kill 130 people annually, and of course that's in wrecks and all. Go ahead clockwise. Cows kill 22 people annually. I'm sure that's in rodeos and accidents out, a lot of them out west, so we don't hear a lot about that. Ants kill 30 people. I'm sure that's an allergic reaction. Bottom right, horses kill 20, and I'm sure that's been thrown off of a horse. Bottom left, the hippos. Now, I don't know much about this, but they're attributing 2,900 people. I'm sure that's not here in America since we don't have them. But then moving up, jellyfish kill 40 people annual. Again, that's an allergic reaction, but right there in the middle, sharks kill 5. So we do overemphasize, but I know it's a vicious attacks and all, but that puts it in perspective, okay? All right, the next one, we're going to talk about that later. But here's a good one right here. I love a picture on the tailgate of a truck. And it could be a big old buck there or some flounder. And I'm going to read. I got an email from this, and this is a good email right here. It said, this is from Joe Eddy. It said, the flounder have been a hit and miss the last few months. We usually gig between 5 and 10 on our trips out. I love the peace and quiet while out gigging. Here's a couple of pictures from the last few weekends. Lots of baby flounder. I've seen them from about 4 inches up to 11 inches all around the bays. It's a good sign for next year's trips out. The one picture, and I'll show you those pictures later, but this is the tailgate. That's a good little flounder trip right there. 6 really nice flounder. Thank you, Joe Eddy, for sending those pictures in, okay? Next picture, water temperature chart. We're going to talk about water temperature more and more, but this is for the whole year. This is the average. Now, the yellow line is the average. If you can look down at the bottom at August and September, you see where it starts dropping off in September. So that's why September and October you have your fall run, and I have the local chart here. I'm going to show it to you later, but this is Florida Gulf water temperature since 1984. So that's the highs and lows. I don't know if this one here, if you want to hunt the pythons again this year, the 2016 Python Challenge is underway, and you can plan your trip and go online to FWC. If you want to go down to Everglades, and you can, last year they got 68 pythons out of what they think they have 1,600 here. Now here is a fine picture here. This is just a great picture. This is Florida at its best right here. Brenda Hendricks, Howard down to, this is that taken at Howard Creek. These fish were not caught at Howard Creek. Brenda posted them. She's retired Parker Mayor, husband there. And look at it. You got some redfish, some sheephead, and it looks like drum and flounder. That didn't come out of Howard Creek, but they cleaned them down there. They got a camp down there too. And that's just a great picture and a big old smile there. Good job, the Kendrick family down over there. Good job. And we're going to end up on the fun one here. How to become a pirate. If you pull the trigger, then you're gonna be a pirate. So you don't want to. Gun safety is important. Okay, so that takes care of our pictures. And I had a guy told me yesterday his son was in town. I hadn't seen his son in a long time. His son is grown, and they went up to the firing range and just had the best time at a father and son shooting. And so if you get a chance to do that, take advantage. You take pistols, anything up to the firing range and all. Why don't we go ahead and take a break now, and I've got some more stuff to talk about, and I'll come right back and talk about this. Okay, welcome back. I've got this message here is off my phone here, and I want to show you the picture and read it to you real quick because it's interesting. Because this picture, you've seen this before. It's a big old panther dragging this big old buck. Now we get this picture pretty regular about this time of year from game cameras and all. But now remember, I checked it out a couple years ago, and this is a hoax. Now this is not a real picture, but I will read it. The folks have really good intentions. Hey, Winston, my daughter sent me this pic from Bluffton, Indiana. Some friends of hers were preparing for bow season for deer. This is what the game camera reveals. And of course, I went ahead and told them. I went back and told them that basically this picture has been sent around. I think first showed up, somebody sent it from, quote, the Everglades, and then someone up in South Georgia. And of course, when I first saw it, I was amazed because I thought it was true, but I kept checking on it, and I had Stan Kirkland check on it, and we all figured it out because even he had biologists look at it. And they said they figured it had been photoshopped in there, and it did an excellent job though. But anyway, thank you for alerting us on this. But I was thinking that panther, if it was going to start in Everglades, South Georgia, and then on up into Indiana, so he's working his way on up there. But anyway, that's not a true picture. Thank you for sending it anyway. Now I want to read this article out of the, not read it, right here, Calhoun Liberty Journal. You know, I got my kin folks over there, so I keep up with all the ball games and everything. It's fascinating because they do a good job talking about local stuff. And a lot of times it pertains to the outdoors. And this particular headline here, you probably can't read. It says, 1 hospitalized, 12 others taken to emergency room after propane leak at cookout. And basically what happened down at River Styx, and we talk about River Styx, used to talk with Kelly Lowry, former FSU quarterback, used to live down there, and he would call him on occasion. But River Styx is a boat landing down below Bristol, and a lot of fish camps are down there. And what this group does, they have a cookout once a week, like on a Saturday night. And in fact, they started cooking at 9:30, eating a little bit late for me. But here's what happened: there were about a dozen folks out there on the porch. And it was it was not an open area. I talk about this because, you know, this time of year, with the weather getting cool, a lot of people, we cook fish outside. Most of us, when you have a fish fry, most of us cook fish outside. Now, I enjoy doing it, but cold weather, sometimes you sort of block it off. Well, this particular tank was a new tank, and it had a leak on it. And they were out on the porch, and the porch was closed in, and you know, for bugs or whatever. And they were all sitting around the porch, and all of a sudden, one of the persons said, "I feel sick," and then somebody said, "I smell gas," and they just all poured out of there and ran outside. Some of them fell out, and people back in the back of the house went running out. And fortunately, no one actually lost their life on it, but they had to send someone to the emergency room. They tried to call 911, but that's such a remote area, they could not get a hold of anybody. So a lot of them piled up in cars, and the people that were okay, they drove them to the emergency room. Some of them went to Orange. Orange is the area where the helicopter flies in from Tallahassee Memorial. Orange, Florida. It's in the middle, close to Sumatra, which is in the middle of Tate's Hell. So that's the closest place they could get. A lot of them drove there, had a helicopter come there. Some of them drove straight to the emergency room. But my point being, as outdoorsmen, we need to be aware of these propane leaks. We don't often talk about it here on the show, but be aware of it, and try to cook if you can. You know, these propane bottles, they're very handy and very useful. But if you smell gas, you know, carbon monoxide, if you can smell it, you really need to have a carbon monoxide detector in your garage or wherever you're going to do your cooking, and it's important because that would help them out there. But anyway, no, everyone ended up okay, but it was really scary at the moment. Fortunately, no one lit up a cigarette at that time. That would have been a disaster right there. Okay. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about dove season right around the corner. Now, I was in my garage yesterday. I have some dove decoys, and I brought it this morning. And when September comes, I think about a couple of things, getting ready for dove season, because it's usually the opening weekend of October. But this year it's going to be the last weekend of September, which is a little different. But on decoying things, it could be decoying ducks or anything. But I believe in decoys, and I don't on dove. I just put a few of them out there in the field. But one thing you need to, and I don't have one of these. One thing you need to take a look at if you're serious about it. They have these mojo, what they call a mojo. They start off with the duck mojos, and the wings would flip back and forth, a little battery powered, and the wings, so they look live, and it'll wiggle a little bit. I've showed you pictures of those before. On the dove here, they starting to make some dove with mojo action, and the wings will move a little bit and the head will turn. So I may get some of those. I don't know. I think it's fascinating, but to do that. But this looks authentic. And when you do set your decoys out, if you do it with dove season coming up in a couple of weekends, what you want to do, keep this in mind. A lot of people want to put them over there close to the bushes, like they're being protected. Dove won't land close to bushes. A dove's going to land out in the middle of a field. Okay, simply because they know the predators are in the bushes. So understand that as you're setting up your decoys and all. And this has, you can actually, they got something you hang it like that from a tree, or you got a little thing to clip on here. But decoy and dove, a lot of people don't do it, and sometimes you don't really need to if you're in a good field. But sometimes if you're in a really big field, and what we're anticipating to be in this coming season, you really need some decoys out there. So find you some down at C&G or whatever. Okay. Also, and put them in groups too. All right. Now, another thing I want to talk about. Electronics. This is fascinating. Scott Lindsay had an article Sunday morning, a really good article talking about electronics. You don't need to be a seasoned veteran fisherman to go find the fish, because electronics nowadays can pinpoint you on any spot there is out there, where the old timers just had to rely on counting stopwatches and low ran, the early low ran, and they sometimes hit it, sometimes they missed it. But now electronics is. And I was thinking, I'm teaching boating safety in my outdoor ed class, and in fact, we're taking a test today. We've been on about a week, and we really had a good week talking about things and all in boating safety, and I collect all the boating accidents. I have 12 folders with 12 different boating accidents here in the Panhandle, and a lot of them were fatalities. Some of them are survivor stories where people just did the right thing and survived, and it's fascinating. I pass out those 12. I put the kids in about groups of 2 or 3. And they'll take their article and they'll read it. Then they'll go up on the board and sketch out the accident and how it happened and how it could have been prevented. And it really is a good learning experience, because that, to me, that's reality, and that's putting something real in the classroom. And they really ask questions about it, and it really sort of opens their eyes instead of just reading questions and all that kind of stuff. But we were doing this the other day, and it brought up we're talking about canoes and kayaks at nighttime, which is not unusual now. It used to be pretty unusual, but you need to have a light, a flashlight. The article in here, the law says you need to have a flashlight on board there. And we got to thinking, and one of the kids, in fact, I actually brought it up myself. And I'm gonna turn this on right here. See this right here? That's a flashlight on my phone. Okay, so we started talking about it, and technically it says flashlight. And I started reading and tried to find it in here, and I couldn't find the answer. So I called Travis. Actually, I called Travis from the classroom, and of course he was busy, but he called me right back. And I said, listen, this right here says all you need at nighttime is a flashlight. Now, will a cell phone flashlight work? And he said, oh, I haven't thought about that. He said, we really hadn't been, and they hadn't really been had that situation. And this is where electronics is making headway into outdoor stuff. And he said, Coach, let me check on it. And he called me back a couple hours later, checked with authorities and all. And he said, what the law on that light has to be visible for 2 miles. And we decided, I don't think you can see this flashlight here for 2 miles at nighttime. So anyway, some of the kids are going to try it. I don't know if they ever did or not. But that's how electronics can change things. This is a good backup. But I was thinking in a court of law, if you had a good lawyer and you got a ticket this is all you had, and you said, well, I had a flashlight. But so technically, that's just, we need to educate each other. Of course, I'm not going to get out there at night and use this as a flashlight. That's just an emergency situation there. So anyway, that's how, let me turn it off when battery go dead. Okay, so anyway, those are some of the things how electronics makes inroads into our outdoor activities. They can be a great blessing as far as, especially if you don't know a lot about fishing, finding an area and getting home and having that little radar on your boat if you're out way out in the Gulf, or just getting a quick weather report and seeing where that storm's coming. And it's just, electronics can be really valuable to an outdoorsman, but keep in mind they're not 100% accurate. Okay, as far as they can lose a signal, or they can get misplaced or something, get wet, whatever. So anyway, just fascinating. I want to pass that on to you. Let's take our final break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look at a fish and game forecast today. The best time to be out for a lot of activity, brought to us by Mark Coward of Counts Real Estate. Our time from exactly 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. this morning, and a lot of us just don't hit that time. We were sleeping, but this afternoon, 2:22 to 4:22 will be the times right there. We got some emails. And by the way, if I don't answer email or your text messages or anything, or return your phone calls, I try to get 100% of them, but I know some of y'all fall through the crack. And if so, I apologize, and maybe send it back to me, and I'll try to get a hold of you. The last couple of weeks have been pretty hectic in our schedule and all, but we're trying the best to get caught up on everything. So here's an email here. Hey, good morning, Winston. Marty and I arrived in St. Andrews State Park the last week, and we're excited to be back. We'll be here until December the 1st, as always. And they're the park host. Deb and Marty Krumnacker, please put our name in the weekly drawing, which we already have. And we have not, we've been up in Tennessee. Their home is Tennessee, but come down here as park host at St. Andrews State Park in December. And then I believe they go over there to St. Joe State Park for a couple of months. So I hope you and sweet wife are doing well, and hope to see you while we're in Florida. Have a blessed day, Deb. So thank you, Deb, for touching base with us. I'm glad you're back down here in the Panhandle and getting to see some and do some good outdoor activities, okay? Also, I want to mention the temperature chart. I touched on it yesterday. I'm going to talk about it some more. It's just, and I can't overemphasize at this time of year how important that is, the water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico. And because it's starting today is actually water temperature, I didn't mention it, it dropped down to 82 degrees, and it's at a situation where we're not that upside down. We're 82 degrees now. Things are starting will start moving around a little bit next week. And when September comes, the first thing I think about in September, I wrote it down here. I wrote myself a note. I think about first of all, when it gets cool like this, I think about cutting firewood. And the second thing I think about is mullet, and they're rolling up. And also because I know the water temperature is starting to drop. So those two things just jump out at me in September. But looking at this chart, and you can see as it just starts going down, there's a steady drop for this fall. And October, especially October, that's when we're going to get our Pompano run. I already got a report. Somebody saw some Pompano off the pier the other day. They're not catching any yet, but they're going to start that fall run. They're going to be starting, and it's not just one wave coming in a day or two. They're going to come in little different waves and all, and they're going to be fattened up from eating up in the Gulf and all these bays and estuaries, and they're going to be in really good shape and really nice and healthy. So this fall run is just something exciting. The whiting, and people ask do the whiting migrate? They do to some degree, but now my favorite time to catch whiting is December. They're more of a year-round fish. They'll go in and out, and it's harder to catch them in the summertime, believe it or not, because of all the doggone catfish out there. But whiting is excellent fishing for December and January, and that's what I try to save my whiting fishing for then. But what I want to talk about now is a mullet. They're rolling up. They're getting ready to start balling up. The pompano is coming through. Of course, you have your king mackerel coming through, and even the tuna, they're coming through a little bit further out. But you'll see some tuna caught off the pier and all. And this pier fishing is also excellent this time of year. We're going to wrap things up. Had a couple other things. Tomorrow's video, don't want to miss tomorrow. I got a whole video tomorrow on the Mexico Beach Artificial Reef Association tournament. I got the captain's meeting and all. We got, that week I was out, we didn't get to put it in, so we're going to run it tomorrow. So tell your friends to be ready and watching it. It's really good action there, and get to see a lot of people there. So you'll enjoy tomorrow's video. I'm going to wrap it up. Enjoy being with you today. Glad you watch our show. Get out there, do something good for someone else, and you have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.